Hi there, my name is Martin Henia and I'm from Ottawa, Canada. I'm a software tester who is providing you now with my experience report for Let's Test 2014. I'm actually filming this. Last year I filmed it from the middle of the Baltic on a cruise ship. Right now I am in Reykjavik, Iceland. And you'll notice it's pretty bright out here. It's actually after midnight, but the sun really doesn't go down in Reykjavik in the summertime. And Henke reached out to me and said, don't wait till you get back to Canada. If you can give us an experience report from Iceland, that would be cool. Those were his words. Those are not my words. So this will be my experience report for Let's Test 2014 from Iceland. So off the top, this was my first ever conference where I was a presenter, and one of my friends, one of my colleagues there, Ali, this is the same deal for her, and I think both of us can say that if you're gonna break the ice at a conference and be a presenter, Let's Test might be the place to start. I mean, we've got an amazing community. There's some fantastic conferences out there, but there's something special about Let's Test. The fact that you're up at Runo, the fact that everyone who's there is there for that one conference, and there's so many people supporting you, and there's so many people wanting you to do well. I'm a very nervous presenter. Very few people believe me on this, but I really pushed myself to start putting in proposals. And as nervous a presenter as I am, I wasn't the least bit nervous stepping up in front of everybody in Runo, and I was there with Kristen, and that helps because Kristen's pretty awesome. But for the two of us to step up there, I wasn't the least bit nervous at all, and I knew that everybody in the room wanted to hear what I wanted to say. Everyone was there to learn, everyone was there to share, and it's the perfect place if you want to push yourself and you want to start sharing a story, especially an experience report. Let's Test, I think, is the place to try it for the first time. And so I want to thank everybody who showed up, everybody who came, especially the people who offered me advice, people who offered me comments, people who said, I want more of this, and maybe a little bit less of that. We're going to be telling this story in a few places, so thank you for that. And we took it all down, and Kristen and I are actually probably going to be meeting sometime soon to start going through revamping what the content was and how much we'll be including when we do a much longer version of this presentation to a different audience in North America. So I do appreciate that. Another thing I want to point out was I had made a promise to myself that in this particular conference, every workshop I was going to go to, every session was going to be somebody new, somebody I haven't seen before. The one exception to that list was Steve Smith. For everybody who experienced his amazing keynote, first ever experiential keynote that I've ever heard of. His workshop was just as amazing. I saw him. I went to his workshop last year on the Satir interaction model, and I have a video of that, and I still refer to that workshop quite often in the workplace. This time he went through the Satir change model, and what I saw was a session that got deeply personal, and I watched Steve do what he does best, where he managed to bring out from people very personal, very vulnerable situations, and help them, with a large group, have the whole group help people get through some issues that they may be working on. And I think there's a lot I can learn from Steve in working with people and helping them progress professionally and personally. So I highly recommend, if you ever get the chance to do a workshop with Steve, if he's traveling, or get a chance to hire him and bring him into your company. He seems to be the type of person who can really advance people past problems where they're just stuck. I see a lot of Jerry in Steve, and I think I'm going to go out of my way to try to work with him in the near future again. Another really big high point for me was After all this time, I finally got to go into a workshop with Alan Richardson. His workshop was actually on the importance of having skills that have no apparent use whatsoever. The point of the workshop truly was that everybody has certain talents and everybody has certain skills, and learning how to actually appreciate the things that you know how to do and to teach other people can help you identify other skills that you may have that you yourself don't appreciate. I found myself teaching a group of about 7 or 8 people how to do minimalistic cartooning, something I probably just take for granted. Turns out people wanted to know, and I learned a bit about some of the finer details of the skill that I have, and how there are things that people may not realize may be helpful if they wanted to get into cartooning. But the main thing for me was also I've been pushing some of the people who have been working for me for a while to read up on Alan and his books and listen into his webinars. He's especially the more technical people, but he's a highly, I wouldn't say influential as much as infectious personality. You want to learn more, you want to do more when talking to Alan. And what I didn't realize is just how approachable and comfortable he is as a teacher and as a person running a workshop. It felt as though there were 30 personal conversations going on, and you just felt as though that you were in the room, and though everybody else was getting as much out of it as you, that the conversation was strictly between you and Alan. And it's a very rare skill. It's something I don't think I'm gonna ever learn, but I can admire it, and I'll be honest, I'm a fan. I kind of hope someday in the future I'm gonna get a chance to work with him, because I think that'll actually be a lot of fun. Some other high points. Runo itself is just one of the most amazing facilities for a conference, and every year I know that Henke and Johan really try hard to put this together, to make it a fantastic facility. They put together a whole bunch of different little programs to try to bring out conversations in people, and I thought last year some of my amazement with the location and with the evenings and with the atmosphere, it was mostly related to it being my first time at Let's Test. I realize now that it's something special. I've been spending the last year and a half flying all over the world and attending conferences, and I can tell you that there's something very special about coming up to Runo and being there for 3 days, and everywhere you look, you know, whoever you're looking at, there's someone in our community who's there to learn, who's there to interact with people. I had so many quick conversations that started out of nothing, just to hear people's stories, and I'm just as emotional this year coming out of Let's Test as I was last year, so it's definitely not first experience jitters or first experience buzz. There's a reason why this conference has 1,000,001 hugs going on at the end, and everyone's sort of sad to go. I don't imagine it's going to end anytime soon, and as we can see, it's expanding to the rest of the world. We've seen a whole bunch of tasting Let's Tests popping up. Ali and I are talking about maybe dropping in on Johannesburg if we can find a way to save up the money for a one-day conference just to do a lightning talk. But I'm super excited right now to be heading off to Let's Test Oz in September. I'm going to be giving a different presentation there, but I think I would have been going even if I wasn't presenting, because I just want to see, can we capture the same spirit and the same enthusiasm down under? And I really am starting to think that this is the conference for context-driven testing. This is the one that is really bringing forward all of that passion that we have for our craft, and wanting to break away from the idea that we can prove that we did testing and instead move towards we can make software better and we can make developers look good and we can actually change what's going on in the world through software and help people, businesses succeed through testing. I realize that sounded pretty preachy, but I feel it, you know. Might also help that I was on a helicopter ride today, so I'm still kind of buzzing after that. By the way, if I didn't mention it before, I mean, I'm down at the harbor right now, so this is not quite this is not quite the most picturesque part of Iceland. But if you do ever get the chance to come to Iceland, and I highly recommend it, being especially for the North American folks, you can fly to Stockholm via Iceland from a lot of American locations. This is a place you've got to go before it's too late to climb up in the active volcanoes and check out all of the geothermal activity, and it's a pretty amazing location. But I think that's it for me. And again, thank you everyone who came to our session. I'm really looking forward to seeing you all again. I'm very much looking forward to Let's Test Oz. And I think, well, it's pretty late, and I'm flying back to Canada tomorrow. I think it's time for me to go to bed, and I wish you all well. Cheers.